everyone. My name is Robyn Gulley, and I am a recent graduate of Ramsey High School, class of 2016. And in May of 2020, I graduated from Birmingham College with a degree in political science and a minor in human rights and conflict studies. And currently, I work with the Democratic Party of Georgia as a field organizer. So today, I have the pleasure of talking with Crystal Mullen-Johnson. She is the CEO and founder of Strive Counseling Services. So, Crystal, why don't you just introduce yourself, but also can you share a little bit about your role and how it impacts students and their mental health?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the introduction and thank you for the opportunity to interview with you today. So I am the CEO founder of Strive Counseling Services. My practice is located in downtown Birmingham, but right now, of course, due to the pandemic, I'm only offering virtual sessions. So currently, I am providing services to adolescents and children, and that is a very important role, especially during this critical time in our country. So, what I primarily see kids struggling with is making adjustments to these significant life changes. And those adjustments include changes in interactions with their peers, so their social life has been impacted. Many kids had a routine. Their routine has definitely been impacted. And also some of their adjustments in terms of being able to adapt to the virtual learning environment. I do understand that some children are learning with a blended plan as well, reporting to school on some days and also virtually learning on other days. However, there are kids that, aren't functioning properly. Their sleep has been impacted. Like I said, their schedules have been impacted. Some of them aren't succeeding academically. There has been a decline in their grades. So, and these are kids that were successful. Some of the kids don't have the parental support in the home because their parents are having to report to work, while they are possibly virtually learning at home. So that poses some barriers which can impact their self-confidence. They can adopt more of a fixed mindset, meaning that they can't overcome or achieve their educational goals because of the grades that they're making. So I work with them on building their self-confidence. I work with them on regulating their emotions, learning how to communicate their emotions opposed to acting them out, whether it's in their home environment or whether it's outside of the context of home, even on the days that they may be reporting to school. It is imperative that children are resilient, that they understand that they can overcome challenges and they don't have to adopt that fixed mindset and feel defeated. So I work with them also on developing healthier thoughts. When they start to have those self-depreciating statements, that is so important for their well-being. So primarily that contribution to students, I do believe it's vital that children are very successful at whatever they are doing. So that's primarily my role and contribution to student mental health.
Wow, like you are definitely one of our essential workers doing the work that's going to change the world. And so I'm just inspired to be here talking with you. And as you were talking, I'm thinking about I have a little cousin who she's having to navigate this second grade Well, she's in first grade this year. So she's learning her first grade material at home, and it has been a struggle.
Yeah, definitely. It is.
Those assignments.
Yeah, and she's young, and they definitely need that one-on-one instruction. So even with the parent, even with the teacher, so I'm sure it's definitely challenging for her to navigate learning during this challenging time.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. It's been hard on all of us, and so I wanted to also ask you. So you talk about some of the concerns already with the COVID-19 pandemic and everything, and students learning from home with their families. But what do you think are some of the mental health concerns that affect students in the Birmingham City school system also?
That is a great question. And I think I can honestly answer this because I've hosted a session and, there were parents from Birmingham, not parents, actually parents of students that participated, you know, of Birmingham City School and also some educators. But I think primarily some of the stressors is trying to engage the children in learning. I think some of the kids are not as motivated as they were. And it's difficult to engage if those kids' social and emotional needs are being met in the context of their home. Of course, the Birmingham City Schools have a social and emotional learning program. Courtney Nelson is doing an outstanding job with that, educating the parents as well as teachers on how to provide, those skills. But it's important that parents are following through with that. It's very difficult, I think, to identify if students are, completing their assignments independently. Like, how can you have accuracy of their performance if you don't know if they are doing their work? So that is important. So how can you measure their success? Measure where they are academically. So I think that will be a challenge going forward next year, and also can be presently a challenge for the educators and also for those kids if they're not applying themselves and retaining the information that they need to be successful in the future. Also, I think Wi-Fi can be a challenging in the household. So depending on the environment, the community in which you live, you can have Wi-Fi, but there can be challenges making a connection. I offer virtual sessions all the time to professionals, to students, and I recognize that we have some challenges with Wi-Fi just within an hour. So imagine going through that throughout your learning day. So I think that also can pose some challenges. And also, parents making sure students show up on time. I think because some kids are learning virtually. Again, I'm going to refer back to students not being on a schedule. So it's not like free play, all day, after, not all day, but after you, disconnect from remote learning. There should be a schedule where kids are working on their homework assignments. There should be a schedule where kids are having a bedtime. They still need 7 to 8 hours of sleep. And I think it's more imperative now that they get sleep so they can have a good attention span during classroom instructional time. So I think it's very difficult for the students to make the connections, to be engaged. And I think it's very difficult for teachers to engage those kids.
Oh no, I totally agree with you. Just it's been interesting watching my little cousin. Like, she really wants to play with her tablet, but she has to be on the laptop so she can stay in class.
Yes.
And so
Absolutely. And I have a 12-year-old. Actually, he's a proud student of WJ Christian School. And his teachers are doing a fantastic job communicating with me. And I'm sure they're doing a very good job communicating with the parents. But the parents have to ask questions, to know how they can meet their students' needs or their kids' needs. So I think parents have to be intentional, making sure that they're checking their kids' assignments, because I think the platforms that they're using, our kids aren't computer savvy to navigate, Microsoft Word. To download a document and upload it. So the parents have to be present to support them in doing that. If not, the assignment won't be submitted, and those kids can, fail, or their grades can be impacted for those reasons.
I agree, because asking a kindergartner to write an essay, that's a mess. But I also want to ask you, so what are some resources that students and families can access right now to support their mental health?
Well, I have resources that I usually recommend for my clients. And one of the ones that I have listed, I'm going to mention this first because I really believe and the power of mindfulness and meditation. And that's using Headspace. And I think utilizing this app, and I think you can use a free version of this. You can download it on your phone. It helps, you improve your concentration and focus. It helps, practicing breathing strategies, and that can help a child learn to regulate their emotions. Also, it helps them learn to relax. I think relaxation is important and it is so vital to their self-care. So that's one of the things. There's a workbook that I absolutely love, and it's called the Self-Confidence Workbook. And the author is Barbara Markway. And you can purchase that from Target or on Amazon, but it's fantastic. I would encourage your child to work in the workbook at least for 15 to 20 minutes a day. Also, there's Teen Link, the Teen Link. This is associated with the Crisis Center of Birmingham, Alabama. That number is 205-328-LINK. There's someone that's available. I think they can text, they can call if they are experiencing a crisis. So those are some of the resources I have. And of course, Strive Counseling Services. I am accepting new clients, and there are some nonprofit organizations out there, Impact Family Counseling, Catholic Family Services, also Oasis Family Counseling. So those are some resources I would like to offer or mention.
Okay, and all of those are amazing resources that I hope will be helpful to like the people that are watching this. And so something else I want to talk to you about is, so there is definitely this stigma of mental health, not just in the Black community, but in minority communities in general, where we have been kind of like socialized not to be able to talk about like different concerns or different things that are going on at home. And so I want to ask you, what is some advice that you can offer students who are battling mental health concerns at home and they might not feel comfortable talking to their parents about it?
Right. Well, that's a very good question. And one of the primary things that I focus on outside of direct services with my clients is raising mental health awareness, because I think it's vitally important to reduce the stigma attached to receiving mental health treatment. So it is important for children to speak up. If you recognize any uncomfortable changes or feelings, and I say feelings, maybe you may have a stomach ache when you're, having to report to school in the morning. And that could be a sign that, you may be struggling with anxiety. There could be changes in your sleep if you're sleeping too much, irritability, changes in your appetite. Those are all of the things you want to pay attention to. And your worry thoughts. I mean, it's not okay to stay up late all night worrying about the next day. So that is a as well. So talk to a trusted adult. And if you don't feel like your mother is that trusted adult, I mean, I have teenagers that I work with, and they choose not to share things with their mother, but their mother or father, but they may decide to share it with the aunt or uncle or their teacher. And if you're not learning at school, you have the opportunity to chat with your teacher by sending a message in a chat box or email. Just make sure you connect with someone. Mental health is imperative for your overall well-being. It impacts the way you think, it impacts the way you feel, and also your behaviors. The center According to the U.S. Centers of Disease Control and Prevention, 1 in 5 children was diagnosed with a behavioral, emotional, or psychological disorder, and that includes anxiety, depression, and attention deficit hyperactivity disorder. But only about 20% of those children receive help from a professional. And I think that is alarming. So that's why it's so vital that you all are doing what you do, the coalition, the Black Mental Health Coalition, raising awareness through these conversations, because they may hear a buzzword and say, oh, that's me. And it's important that providers such as myself raise awareness through educational learning sessions that are free for the community. That's something that I do outside of my, like I said, direct services with clients. But we have to help kids understand that their mental well-being and their physical well-being is vital to being successful academically, being a good person just for their personhood, and also for them to help learn to cultivate healthy relationships. And they rely on us adults. So we need to educate them, be available for them, and help them strive to be healthier.
Thank you. Thank you so much for all of that. And I know it's going to be so helpful for families at home, students at home, just because a lot of times, we can be experiencing things, but we don't always know what the resources are. But I think throughout this time, you did such an amazing job at not just laying out those resources for us, but giving parents advice about what are some signs they should look for when they're working with their children as they're navigating this virtual learning space.
And and if you don't mind for me to add, if kids decide to utilize some coping skills, I think it would be great to journal every day. And I know some people question, what am I writing about? Well, there's so much to write about. There's a lot going on in our country. Write about how it's impacting you. Write about how these changes in your learning environment has impacted you, but also write about your accomplishments. It doesn't have to be anything major or drastic, but just waking up COVID free, what does that feel like? Just finding gratitude in your day. Also, finding a healthy physical outlet. Go outdoors, get a breath of fresh air, stretch, walk your pet if you can, ride your bike, just stay, spend some time outdoors and don't spend so much time inside. You have to get that vitamin D, and it's really good for your well-being. So make sure you do that. And yoga is something that I really encourage kids to get involved with. I do yoga with my son. He really, really enjoys it. So again, earlier I mentioned about the importance of concentrating and focusing, but just stretching is good for kids. So those are some coping skills that I would like to offer for parents to use with their children.
Oh, no, I appreciate you adding all of those, just because journaling is actually something I didn't get into until I got to college, but I was at a mental health panel, and they were talking about how impactful journaling could be. So I was just I'm just going to give this a shot. So I would go to the lake that we had on campus, and I would just write how I was feeling in my journal. And it was really good. It was powerful because writing it down, it was I felt all these emotions being able to just get them out. And I felt relieved. So I think just all of the things that you mentioned, because getting outside, that's so crucial, because I learned the hard way from this virtual learning that there were days I would see the sun come up from my window, and it got dark, and I never went outside. Being outside.
That is really interesting. And hearing you say that reminds me of how important it is, because I heard you talk about where you would go to journal, finding that serene space. And we do need to create space in our life, create space in our schedule to have that outlet for self-care. We need to teach our children a routine or good habits, forming good habits of, eating well, exercising, talking about their feelings, writing down their feelings, so they won't have to contain and suppress all of those emotions. So thank you for bringing that up, because I think good habits are vital for adults as well as for children.
Of course, hearing all the things you were saying would definitely made me think about it. But thank you also, because self-care is so important, and you have to learn it early. Just because once you get older and you start, it's weird. People are telling you you're not taking care of yourself, and you're what do you mean? I'm taking my showers.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
That is a very good point. When I'm working with my clients, I remind them that self-care includes your psychological well-being, social, spiritual, physical, and if you're an adult professional, also your social life. Like all of that entails self-care. There are different components you have to focus on, to improve your functioning daily. So it's important to be in good spirits, excited about approaching your day with a goal in mind to be successful in executing whatever it is important to you.
I agree because having goals and having just creating that structure for your day really helps you feel a lot more productive. And then
Absolutely.
when you are in touch with all of the moving parts of your mental health, that's a whole nother level of freedom.
So there you go. That's an affirmation for today. Freedom. I am free. Yeah.
Yes, I feel that. I'm gonna write that down on something.
I think I'm gonna write that down too. Thank you, Robyn.
Thank you.
You're awesome.
You're amazing. I'm so happy we got to take a few minutes to talk to each other about this.
No, you're so smart, and thank you for your contribution. You're an inspiration, so I wish that I, learned early on, such as you have, to have these conversations. I grew up in a rural community. I'm from Demopolis, Alabama, and no one talked about mental health, but you're creating a safe environment and an outlet for that. And people can connect to that. So you keep up the good work, remain passionate about everything that you're doing. And I just wish you well. And I know you would do well because this is only the beginning. I mean, you're doing a good deed. So just live out your purpose.
Thank you. And I just want to say to you also, I know I wouldn't be where I am if I hadn't had opportunities to be in spaces with people like you.
Thank you.
And so I've just always been inspired. I'm inspired by the work that you're doing. For the folks in the audience, who watching, I've seen her before.
But yes, we have seen each other before and we have reconnected. So I don't feel like I'm interviewing with a stranger. You're an expert. You could be like an expert. So thank you, Robyn. I appreciate you.
Thank you, Chris. I really thank you so much for taking out time in your day because I know you're busy making moves. So I'm happy that you were able to take out a little time to do this as well.
Okay, well, continue to strive for a healthier you and make your day beautiful.
Same to you.
Right. Well, thank you.
Thanks so much. What?